webinar
Okay.
which has been organized by Disability and Development Consortium India on poverty, hunger, and disability, the missing link. How do you all see climate change as the catalyst to the intersectionality of poverty, hunger, and disability?
Yeah. So what I was saying is that, the climate change, the consequences of climate change are affecting us in very adverse manner, as we all see. And that leads to further poverty because many of our disabled friends are involved in either agriculture related things or, employments which involve daily work. Now, the moment they can't work on a particular time, at a particular time, obviously that leads to reduction in income, and that also leads to reduction in health, because the moment you have these climate changes, some of our disabled friends are having very fragile health conditions. So those things converge and result in further poverty and obviously hunger. This is what I think, because there is not much study, I believe, on climate change and disability, which needs to be really focused upon in the coming days to come. Yes, Praveen.
Thank you. Praveen, you want to go ahead? And then Amitabh.
Yeah, thanks, Ketan. You made a valid point. Just on the other side of it, the impact of climate change, particularly on when it comes to disasters, people with disabilities are the first to be affected, and any disaster preparedness program, a response program, need to engage with people with disabilities and have those plans set accordingly. So that's something which we are seeing now around the world. Whenever there is a disaster, people with disabilities are definitely affected, and there needs to be mechanisms to ensure that they are part of any disaster preparedness action.
Thank you. Amitabh Bhai.
So thank you, Akhil, and thank you for the question. In fact, when I was presenting, I did specifically talk about how inequality is also reflected in climate change. And what we know is that the climate change is here, it's real. I don't remember the exact number, but of the 25 biggest disasters, natural disasters that the world has seen, of that, almost 65% have happened in the last 20 years. We are seeing a complete change of rain patterns. We are seeing increased desertification. So what we're looking at is something which is completely changing the climate, which also means that most of the people, the poor people, depend much more on the natural resources for their livelihood. I think that's an important point to be made. The rich are in the service sector, they are in the urban areas, whereas it's really the poor who depend on land, water, forest for their livelihood. And that is not going to be able to sustain. Things are changing. People are extremely resilient. They will find ways of still surviving, but they are the ones who are getting the worst affected. So there's a direct link between climate change and the poor, who are becoming poorer. And we need to look at the entirety of the problem. It's again the kind of economic system that we have created, which is leading to greater materialism, which is leading then to climate change. So it is, fundamental relook at a lot of these things that we do. Just very briefly, because we are talking of SDGs, again, to appreciate at least one part of SDGs, that goal number 12, again, like I was talking of goal number 10, first time inequality is part of the global framework. Goal number 12 is the first time it talks of changing the consumption patterns, not just the production, but changing the consumption patterns. That's important, and I think we need to work with that. Thanks.
Thank you, Amitabh Bhai. We have another question from Ghulam Nabi Nizamani. He asks, is there any segregated data available on impact of COVID-19 on persons with disabilities? Maybe Ketan or Praveen can answer that.
I have come across nothing. In fact, even now, I don't think there is any disaggregated data available on COVID-19 and disability. No, I don't think. Even vaccination data is not gathered with disability on COVID. So,
All right. Thanks. Praveen, your thoughts?
Yeah, echo the same. There's no data, only pocket level studies which have been done, which which Ketan, for example, presented, and maybe some other organizations have done, but not many.
Okay. There is
Akhil,
one question from.
Akhil, can I add on this?
Yeah,
Very
please,
quickly.
please.
I know we're running out of time, but very quickly, I just wanted to advocate that is it possible for all of us here, we are such a large coalition here, to actually go to Niti Aayog with 7 or 8 specific indicators, and which are around disability. Let's pick off the 16, let's pick 6 or 7 goals, and on that have a specific disability indicator. We can develop it, and then annually every year let's demand that the government actually uses those indicators, and we also do shadow reports around that. So it can then really push both the data needs and also the accountability from a disability perspective.
Very, very, very valid suggestion.
Completely agree with you, Amitabh.
Absolutely, very, very good suggestion.
Yes.
Absolutely. There is one question from Mr. Ishwar Chahta. He's asking in Hindi that एक राष्ट्र एक पेंशन एक राष्ट्र एक राशन भारत में दिव्यांगों के लिए क्यों नहीं है? Then why we don't have one country, one pension, one country, one ration for people with disabilities in India? And after this, I have one more question from the chat box. If anybody wants to attempt this one, it's the Amitabh Bhai, please go ahead.
I can go for it.
Yes.
So what I would say is that sorry, सवाल हिंदी में था तो मैं शायद जवाब हिंदी में दूं.
There is a Hindi translation going on.
Okay, yeah, I know. Okay, so what I would say is that maybe that's we need to reframe the question, and in terms of reframing of the question, why ask that? Why don't we have the same pension? Because then they might say that okay, let's go to Mizoram, and if I remember correctly, Akhil, you said it's only 200 in Mizoram. They will 100 rupees. So they will not go to Telangana, where you said it's 3,500, Telangana or Andhra Pradesh. So it will bring it down. I think what we need is, what we keep saying in terms of rights, etc. There's a minimum floor of dignity. For a disabled person, what is the pension that will ensure a minimum floor of dignity of life? And that is what we need to ask from the government. And let's not worry about, what is Government of India giving and what is Telangana giving. If it is 3,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, let's ask for it across. So I think our ask should be framed not in this federal debates, but in terms of minimum floor of dignity. And that's what we want for each and every disabled person of this country.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amitabh Bhai. Praveen, you want to add something?
Yeah, Akhil, one point to mention here, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act somewhere mentions that now moving forward, persons with disabilities, the certification what is done from one state should be recognized all over India. And the government of India has come out with the Unique Disability Identity Card, which is an online kind of a platform. Obviously, lots needs to be done in that line. There's it's been initiated since 2016-17. So definitely there is scope for advocacy, and if that is accepted all over the country, what Ishwar is saying, it is possible, and definitely what Amitabh also said in terms of advocating at the central level, will be able to achieve that.
Thank you. So that brings me to the last question, which was asked by Dr. Indumati Rao, that how do we ensure 5% of development budget stated in the Rights for Persons with Disability Act used fully at village level for people with disabilities. So it's question of how do we monitor. And I think, Amitabh Bhai, you are best fitted to answer this question at the moment.
So thank you, Akhil. Yeah, if the question is about how do we monitor, uh, then I think there are different uh, social accountability tools which we must use. And these social accountability tools, because I've been doing budget analysis, so I can say, are looking at the different stages of governance. One is when the budgets are made. I think it's very, very important that we engage with, whether it's at the panchayat level or at the state government level. Once the budgets are made, then we need to do the advocacy, or when the budgets are being made, how do you do the advocacy with, say, the MLAs? Or in the case of panchayats, we know that it's not really done by the gram sabhas, it's done by the officials, but doing advocacy with them. But the second then is actually monitoring the expenditure of budget, which is also very, very critical, because very often you get what are called the supplementary budgets and the revised estimates. Those are very different from what initially was set. So that's the second bit. And the third, I think, is even the audit reports, which are very critical in terms of understanding the budgets, how the money is going. And having said all these three, again, I think, again, a group like this is going to be very powerful in terms of ensuring that budgets are going to what it is intended for. You know, I keep giving this example for the tribal sub plan. At one point of time, the government said that we are spending all the money. And what was it being spent on? The VIP lounge in Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. Literally, they said that. The big stadiums saying that tribal athletes will play and tribal MLAs, MPs will come to Jharkhand VIP lounge. So that then also completely defeats the purpose. So it's multiple levels of work that's needed, but that is what civil society should do and hold the government accountable.
Thank you very much.